Hey guys, welcome back to Vince-Vell Customs. Today we're going to experiment and we're going to do a magnetizing of a statue from one piece to another instead of pinning it and gluing it and then painting it. This is my Street Fighter Rose statue custom that I'm working on, and as you can see, this is the top head of the body and this is the head, and she goes on like that. Basically, for this specific item, I don't want to glue her head together. I want to magnetize it. Now, this arm already was magnetized. This one wasn't, so I kind of took some magnets from other stuff that I worked on and I magnetized that in there, and it kind of worked out pretty good. I like where it's going, but the head's kind of different because when the arm goes in here, it's kind of like keyed to a point where it sticks. This item is not, and this could fall very easily. So basically I have two magnets here from other statues I've worked on. I have a bigger one and a smaller one. So basically the bigger one is the one that I'm going to go in the head. Now if you can see in here, I drilled out a hole and this magnet fits in pretty well. But what you want to make sure is the right magnets are fitting the right stuff. So basically it's the dirtier end that's going to go. So what I have is some Avis mixed up, some green Avis already from working on other stuff. And what I want to do is, I think what I'm going to do is I'm going to glue this in here first to the head, and then once that's dried in a day, I'll come back and then I'll Avis this piece in and glue it, so this way everything is super flush. Probably doing it wrong, maybe other people got better ideas, but I don't know. So basically what I got is my glue and I got the Insta set. So what I'm going to do first is I'm going to glue into the head. Give it enough in there so it sits in pretty well. And then we are going to make sure this goes in correctly. I want to glue my fingers in there because sometimes I've done that in the past. Gonna sort of drop it in. Didn't go in correctly. So get a piece of metal, something anywhere. No, we don't want to use metal. Let's use this piece of wood. Not working too well. Let's use this thing. Okay. Went in completely wrong. Now I'm just making a mess. Still doesn't want to go in correctly. Alright, let's dry that off. Okay, here we go. Screw it. Putting the finger in anyway. And the finger's getting stuck. Alright. Alright, so we pretty much got it in where we want it now, as you can see. Okay. And basically, take your instant set, squirt that sucker in there, and that is dried. It's soaking wet in there, but that's okay. So, and finger is pretty much glued to all hell. That's the price you pay for doing this stuff. Okay, so basically I take my little cloth, dip some out. So this is going to dry for a couple minutes and we'll be right back. And maybe I can try to get this crap off of my finger. Alright, it's been a little bit, it's pretty much dried in there. It looks a little wet in there, but it's fine. So what we do is at this point, I'm going to take my Avis. And this is kind of like helping to secure it in, I guess you could say. Throw the Avis up in here, there's a little piece. Take some of the safety solvent with a paintbrush. And basically I'm just going to get in there. Push that all up in here. As you can kind of see it. Pretty much showing the magnet, which is fine, but we want to, basically the goal is to secure it in there. Now, I know when you get magnets from, companies like Sideshow or other companies where they magnetize stuff, basically they already have the magnet size for each thing, and they just put the magnet in and they glue it, and then you get stuff. But this is a custom, and I'm not mass producing this, so it's just a matter of getting this specific item magnetized, and that's it. I'm not, recasting. I'm not, just got to get it in there. So basically the way that looks is a little nasty, but that's fine. Basically I just want to put it on here. On there, everything is fine. Looks good. Nothing's hitting here. So we're looking pretty good. But just in case this is hitting, we'll let's put some safety solvent here. Put the head on there. Looks good all around. Okay. So that did hit a little bit of it in there, but that's okay. What we do now is we're going to let this sit. This is the little magnet here, which is going to connect to this one. The reason why this is a little one is because I have a bigger one, but it's not really going to fit in here without stretching this out even more, and then it might, and I don't want to go through all that. So we're going to use a little magnet here. I'm going to let this sit for the night, and then I come back tomorrow and we put the little magnet into here. Now the problem is when you put the little magnet in here and you do it there, you're going to have a problem because this is going to pull this out when you pull off the head. But basically what my goal is, I was going to put the Avis in here and create the hole for this little magnet, so this way I could put that magnet in there, glue it, and let it dry, and then we're done. So what we'll do is we'll let this sit overnight, make sure this doesn't go over in there, and we'll be back tomorrow and we'll get that finished. Okay guys, it's been about a day or so. This is all hardened up in here, so that's all pretty good. She sits flush here and here. Everything's looking good. So basically what we want to do now is we want to add the small magnet to there. Now the problem is, if you put Avis in here, you put the head, when you pull this out, it's going to stick there. Plus you don't want the Avis sitting there and the head sitting there, because it's just going to set together, and we don't want it to set together. Basically we want to make the hole here, but still everything's flush. So I have my Avis safety solvent. It's which you can't use water to mix with Avis. As I said before, you got to use the safety solvent. So basically what I like to do is kind of smush some Avis in here like this. This little magnet, it's gonna kind of want to center it, so we're gonna center the little magnet in there, as you can see. And what we do is take the safety solvent, wet the head part area, then we're gonna just push the head on. See how that works out. Make sure it's all kind of flush, and see, it comes up with it. So that's kind of the problem I run to once in a while, but you got to keep working it. So kind of had the safety solvent on here. This is kind of how, a little bit of a process I do when, like if you were going to use this pin piece on our foot and you want to put it into a base, I kind of put Avis in and I push it in and and keep working the safety solvent until I get to the point of it sets into the base. So we're going to try this again. So this time what I might do is we're going to put the safety solvent up on here, and then we're going to throw a lot of safety solvent in here. And okay, so we're sort of getting there now. You can see how the headpiece kind of gets the form going. We'll mush that around a little bit. And I'm going to throw some more safety solvent. It's kind of gets all, make sure everything's kind of flush. Okay, so it's giving me a flush head, and it's giving me the hole where I can glue in the magnet later, as you can kind of see. Over here, okay, see? Sort of working it. And usually what I'll do is now, I sort of got it right now, so I'm not going to toy with it anymore. What I'm going to do is I'm going to let this sit. I got to sculpt some other things tonight. And as the Avis starts to get harder and harder and harder, within like a 2-hour to 3-hour window, it's going to help me put some more safety solvent and push it in there again, and to make sure it's stepped, because it starts to get a little bit harder. And then by tomorrow, basically you have a hard piece where I could take this magnet and I could put it in there, I can glue it, and then I got magnet on both sides. So basically we're going to come back to this a little bit later once the Avis starts setting, but this is like my sort of base hole that I'm working on. So we'll be back a little bit later. Okay, so it's been about like an hour or so As you can see, I got the hole pretty much set up to where I want it. The head fits on it pretty well. The little magnet's still sitting in there. I used the A's. At this point right now, I'm going to let it sit overnight and then go from there. It's pretty much, it's a little messy, but that's okay, you know. I know, well, this is how you can do it. I know there's going to be a gap underneath the chin and around the neck area, but for this specific custom, if I ever have to move her, I'm not going to have a special box for her, so it's good to actually be able to take out all the pieces. So, this is pretty much how I came up with attaching the magnet. So we'll be back tomorrow after this sets overnight. We'll take the little magnet out of the head and we'll glue it into there and let it glue sit for a while and then see how things work out. If it works out well and everything's good, then I'm done. If there's a problem, I have to redo it, retweak it, come up with a different plan, then I do. But this gives you just an idea of how you can use magnets and set them up to your customs, kits, or whatever, and go from there. So we'll be back tomorrow and we'll see how this works out. Alright guys, so it's been about, I would say, 3 hours, 4 hours now. The Avis is actually very hard. You can put your fingernail, you kind of mark it a little bit with your fingernail. So it's not really super soft, but it's definitely stiff enough where it's not going to go anywhere. So what you do is you put your magnet in there just to make sure it's kind of flush and it looks pretty good and working out pretty well. So I'm happy with that, and it doesn't look super pretty, but it doesn't matter because the head's going on it. Now you're going to hear a click because the magnet's going to pull it out, but the head's pretty much flush. I like where it's going to go, and that's pretty much looking pretty good. So it's pretty much flush over there as well, basically. So tomorrow I'll basically let this give it like that full 8 hours to really cure. And tomorrow what I'll do is I'll take out the magnet, glue it in there, and if I feel I need to throw some Avis through any cracks or anything, or maybe like a layer over just to kind of keep it there, I'll do that. So we'll do that tomorrow night, and that's pretty much how you do a magnet.